1-800-423-065. Member FDIC. This is not a commitment to lend. Equal housing lender.
Your sports live here. WBUZ HD3 Laverne. We are the Game Nashville Sports Network. ESPN 94.9. The Fan.
30 years of the best sports talk in Middle Tennessee. It's the George Plaster Show, featuring Tennessee Sports Hall of Famers Kelly Holcomb and young gun Billy Derrick. And now, here's your host, George Plaster.
Hello again, everybody. Welcome in. It is a cold but beautiful Wednesday in Nashville, Tennessee. Those of you who maybe are watching this by way of podcast, you're lucky. You're not having to see me. But what you are seeing is Vanderbilt's Memorial Gym live about 2 hours before their game against South Carolina. And from the top of Memorial Gym, the view you're seeing is where I did games 30 years ago. And it's an unusual view, but you're looking straight down on it all, and you really see a lot of the plays develop. In fact, I'm sitting in the exact chair where I did games 30 years ago. Anyway, my buddy Tim Thompson's going to join us at 3:20 to get into the game tonight against South Carolina, which feels like I'm not going to go do or die, but I am going to say, hey, if they want things to go well this year, this is probably one they got to get.
Yeah, right now, South Carolina technically last in the league. That's not saying much because of how good the league is, but this is a home game that if you're Vanderbilt, you need to win, because considering Saturday you've got Tennessee coming in here, this could catapult you into, because you go down 0-2 this week, you know, it's not looking great. But if you get this win tonight and then lead into Saturday, I think that'd be huge.
Big difference between 2-2 and 1-3.
Yes.
Kelly Holcomb joins us in Murfreesboro. Kelly, how are you?
I'm good, George. How you doing?
You know, in honor of you today, I'm going to ask, because it's going to be a little unusual. Mike Organ had something come up, and he will not join us until 4 o'clock. Our show gets preempted by Tim Thompson at 4:30. It's all his fault. But what I'm going to do, we're going to have two different times where we can take some phone calls. Somewhere 3:40 to 3:55, and then again from 4:15 to 4:28. Wow, we're being very specific
very
today.
Precise. That's right.
Yes, I'm gonna ask for a call out of your home stomping grounds, Murfreesboro.
Okay, let's do it. Let's do
Because
it. I
I'm
got on
told-
the radio. I could hear it. I could hear it pretty good. There's a little scratchy that's a little annoying, but you still hear everything we're saying is pretty clear.
Yeah, we'll see if anybody in Murfreesboro is listening. Billy, I trust that you have an update with some meat on the bone.
We got a lot of meat on the bone today. A lot of good SEC action last night. It's brought to you by Lori Burnett Leland. You can find her online at mortgageladyyusa.com or give her a call, 615-969-4350. Well, Ole Miss knocked off Alabama last night, 74-64.
Where did that come from?
Well, Malik Dio was a big part of it. Had 23 points last night. Of course, started his career at Vanderbilt, played at Belmont last year, and now he's an Ole Miss Rebel. And if you go back, watch those highlights, he was a big part of that win last night for Ole Miss. Another big, well, maybe not a big upset, but Missouri knocked off Florida.
That's not a big upset.
That
That's a huge upset.
Knock off Florida.
Where did that come from?
Well, Missouri's good.
How did Missouri get so good? Because didn't they go 0 for last year in the conference?
They did. They went 0-18 last year. But Dennis Gates is a good coach, and in year one, they had a tournament team, Kelly. So that was a pretty good team. And we got some stuff happening.
Yeah, we got to do this.
Here.
We got to do this for just a second. So Kevin Ingram has joined us up here. I want Kevin to sort of help me with how I would start the interview with Tim Thompson.
Tim Thompson joins us during the 4 o'clock hour. Tim, how you doing? Let's go to Kenny the mailman on a car phone.
And there are certainly other people that would join the show. Coach Patino from New York.
I'm always from New York, George. I'm out at the horse track.
Are you?
Yes.
What's the winning horse?
I hit the 4-5 daily double.
Well, that's wonderful. That's wonderful.
Hillary Hunter was my horse in the Derby.
Is that so?
Yes.
Yeah. You've had a lot of activity in Louisville over the years.
I have indeed. Yes, I have.
You
George.
have.
We
Yeah.
won a national championship. They took our banner down, but we still won.
I don't think that's what I was talking about.
No, well, there are many things that went on.
And how, let's go to Charlotte. I would guess Raleigh, Charlotte, Durham, somewhere in that area. Coach K, welcome.
Plans, the last time I saw you was at Cameron Indoor Stadium with you and Welly and Bob Horner. Do you remember that experience?
You told me to go.
Yes, I did.
You told me to go stuff it.
Yeah, did you?
Well, based on my height, yes. Yes, I did.
You guys went to the bookstore to get some materials, and then you came back and we were
Yes.
having practice.
Are there any Atlanta Braves people we should? Let's go to Atlanta. Skip, welcome.
The Braves are close to opening up spring training in about another month.
I told Billy Derrick, Kelly, are you listening to this?
Oh, absolutely. That's my man, Kev. Yes, that's awesome.
Kelly, what's up, dude?
So I told
How you
Billy
doing, brother?
earlier that what we really ought to do is have Kevin do the interview as me with Tim Thompson.
Tim, let me ask you this. This team, they've won 13 games. The SEC has been tough. Where do they go now playing South Carolina tonight? Give me about 2 good minutes on this match.
Oh, that's 2 good minutes was good.
There used to be, Kevin, I don't know if you've ever heard this story. Is there a way to give Tim your headset for a minute? So back, Tim, before he became famous as Vandy's color announcer, was part of the famed Insiders.
Right.
Joe
Oh, I've
Biddle.
heard about the Insiders.
Oh,
yeah. Tim's told me all about that
Okay.
during our travels.
I got paid with a pair of Levy's, like pair of socks. That was my
Our good
payment.
friends at Levy's are providing Tim Thompson.
So every time we would end, and this was at a day and age where college basketball was kind of king here. It was the thing. And so we would be on an hour and a half, 2 hours talking college basketball all over the country. And I would always end it with, Tim, give us one little nugget that'll have the listeners out there going, that Tim Thompson is one sharp cat. Do you remember what you put out there one day?
Yeah, I did. I told, and even George was surprised at this. I told him, I said, George, you're going to be the next play-by-play guy at Vanderbilt with Paul Houlihan. And he about choked on his microphone. How long was it after when you got
Like
the
a
job?
month and a half.
A month and a half, you got the job.
See?
So we brought Tim back on. That one, Tim didn't know a damn thing. That was a total
No, that was
guess.
it was a total pulling out of the air.
Oh, man. But he would come with some good stuff. Anybody I missed that you've been doing?
No, I don't think so. But we have Kelly on with us, and we were just talking a few minutes ago about the high school games that Kelly and I used to do on Thursday nights. We had a lot of fun, and we did a lot of travels around the mid-state, including one game that I did on the scissor lift that Kelly was not available for. And that was the first and last game that I ever did on a scissor lift because that was not a positive experience.
So
I'm glad, George. I'm glad I was not there because I don't know if I could have done that. And I think wasn't it windy that night, Kevin? A little bit.
It was out at Brentwood Academy when they were redoing their press box. And so they had us up on this scissor lift. And the person who was operating it hadn't put the legs down in the bottom part to make it stable. And so
that's not a good.
we get to like the first commercial break in the first quarter. And they're like, if we put the legs down, this thing might be more stable. And I was like, well, yeah, it might be more stable. And at one point I was calculating that if it started to topple over, if I could jump off and land in this, hedgerow and survive.
That's when you know that you love broadcasting when you're willing to put up with that.
Yes, it is.
By the way, Willie's number is retired.
It's pretty impressive, isn't it?
I guess that's Chantel Anderson.
It is. Yeah, it is.
But the
Chantel
first
Anderson.
thought I had was they retired Willie's number.
Willie Donick.
Yeah.
I scored more points than Willie Donick.
Wow. That is rough.
Director, that is not true.
Listen in for a minute. Billy's got an award-winning update. Don't go anywhere. Oh, that's right.
George, we got to do pregame, man. We've got a meeting. We got stuff to
you
do
know
down
what?
here.
Give me a break. We never met when I did.
Well, this is a new
Pregame.
day and age, okay? This is modern broadcasting, George.
Wow. Well, you know what? That was a cheap shot. Kevin, thank you for coming up here.
Anytime, buddy.
Say
It was
hello.
a long way up here, man. I had to take a 30-second time out about halfway up.
Mm-hmm. Say hello to everybody.
And hello again, everybody.
Okay, Billy, it's all yours.
On that, I got to run.
Yes, I'm sure you do.
I hate to see you go.
Professional broadcasting.
Yes,
Day
indeed.
one.
That's Kevin Ingram, also known as George Plaster.
Oh, my God.
But the other upset, the big upset, Missouri over Florida last night, 83-82. Auburn held on there to beat Mississippi State, 88-66. Kentucky looked really good at home against Texas A&M, 81-69. And then LSU beat Arkansas. The Hogs are now 0-4 to start SEC play.
I would think there's some disgruntled Hogs.
Yeah, and they host Missouri on Saturday, 5:00, which
Let them get off to a bad start, and he'll hear about it.
By the way, Auburn and Ole Miss are the only two remaining SEC teams undefeated in conference play. So, SEC, as tough as it gets tonight. Of course, South Carolina and Vanderbilt at 5:00. Georgia at Tennessee at 7:00. That could be interesting. Tennessee's a big 11.5-point favorite in that one. And then Texas and Oklahoma at 9:00 in the Red River Shootout basketball style. So, triple header on the SEC network. Also, the Preds.
Well, hold on a second. Kelly, so far,
Yes, sir.
not a lot of meat on the bone, is there?
I don't know, man. I'm just I'm still wrapping my brain around Kevin and all his antics that he just put on with mimicking everybody. That was awesome.
He is hilarious.
The scissor lift story is one of my
That
favorites.
I'm glad I was not at that game either. I remember I remember him calling frustrated and was telling me about it. I'm glad I didn't have to make that decision because I might have told him I'm not doing that, guys.
It's amazing how much better you were a day later.
Preds beat the Golden Knights last night 5-3.
I was there.
Don't let them get hot. Preds starting to play a little bit better.
Yeah, who knows? It's hard to tell.
Behind the eight ball a little bit.
Yeah, when you're 16 out of the eighth and final
Just a bit.
playoff spot, just a little bit.
High school football, NBA has elevated defensive coordinator Chris Chauvin as their next head coach. He's a Father Ryan graduate, takes over from Marty Uverard, who resigned last month after 14 seasons at NBA. Big Red coming off a 4-8 season. That's a good hire for NBA.
I would guess that means that Ingle Martin turned it down. If they did not offer it to him, they're stupid.
Well, I think there's a reason Chauvin stayed. I think he knew he had a good chance at that job. So NBA will be just fine with him. Also, college football, Tennessee All-SEC defensive back Jermon McCoy will miss spring practice and several months after tearing his ACL during an offseason training session back home in Texas. But apparently he will be back in time for next season. But nonetheless, you don't like to see that. You never know if he'll be back to where he was at before that. Also, Chris Lowe's reporting that Tennessee and defensive coordinator Tim Banks are finalizing an extension for him to remain with the Vols.
There you go, Kelly. That's your man.
That's not my man. That's Tony's man, not mine.
No, I don't know about that. Is that it, Billy?
No.
Okay.
Quinn Ewers has officially declared for the NFL draft. I think we all knew that was going to happen, but he announced in a video on social media, it's Arch Manning time in Austin.
If old Quinn thinks he's going to be a first-round draft pick, he is, to quote, what was the guy in Ferris Bueller? Edward R. Rooney. He is sorely mistaken. The scouts are not that wild about Quinn Ewers.
I don't know why. If you watch him play, I don't know how you could be wild about him, man. I mean, I don't know. He's got to work on his throwing motion. He's got to get his ball up. He's going to get, and I said this about Kurt Warner. Kurt Warner did the same thing, but Kurt Warner was bigger. And he's going to have a lot of balls batted. So he's got a lot of work to do before the combine and for the draft for him to get some status, because I don't think he's going to go like you think, like he thinks.
Kelly, we're going to your city of Cleveland for the last piece here. They have filed a lawsuit to prevent the Browns from leaving their lakefront stadium and building a domed stadium in suburban Brook Park. The state law says any pro sports owner who uses a tax-supported facility for home games can't leave unless it gets permission to play elsewhere or gives 6 months notice. So Jimmy Haslam in a tough spot here with.
Yeah, but that 6 month notice thing
probably helps him.
Seems like there eventually is an out. Doesn't there?
Yeah.
Okay.
But
you're done.
I'm done.
After the break, Tim Thompson, Vanderbilt color analyst, will join us to talk about tonight's game, which is ridiculously early at 5 p.m. You can blame the SEC network for that, but no one will say a word because they're making too much money. This is 94.9 The Fan.
New year, new priorities. Family and safety come first. If a car or truck accident disrupts your life, Bart Durham Injury Law is here to help. We're local, experienced, and ready to fight for you. Call 615-242-9000. Happy 2025 from Bart Durham Injury Law.
It's easy to say good things about the folks at Strike and Spare Family Fun Centers. Number one, I trust them with something that's near and dear to me, the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night. But more importantly, I see the fun people have. They enjoy the bowling, they enjoy the camaraderie, and you will too. Come by any of their locations and get ready to have some fun. Venture Express has been helping people in this area for more than 40 years. They're headquartered in Murfreesboro with over 30 years of dedicated fleets involving production, manufacturing, and corrugated experiences. They're an asset-based company with over 700 tractors, 4,000 trailers, and 800 drivers. If you need their help, dial them up 615-793-9500 or log on to ventureexpress.com.
As the trusted premier custom home builder in Middle Tennessee, Donnelly Timmons has over 20 years of experience in the industry. Whether you're looking to build your dream home or renovate your current home, their team will ensure that every client and every remodel is unique, luxurious, and completed on time within budget. Founders Dustin Timmons and Joey Donnelly have over 25 years of construction experience in the Nashville area. Together, they have completed projects in Forest Hills, Oak Hill, Green Hills, Franklin, and Brentwood. Dustin and Joey believe that communication is the most important aspect of all construction projects. Therefore, they personally manage each project themselves and are involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonnellyTimmons.com. Themselves and are involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonnellyTimmons.com.
It's the George Plaster Show. Your sports live here on 94.9 The Fan.
We are back. You're getting a little different shot. If you're watching by way of podcast, we're high atop Memorial Gym up in what used to be the press box. Now they're down on the floor. And Vanderbilt color analyst Tim Thompson, nice enough to join us up here. So you started doing games up here, didn't you?
The 1 year that that I did color with Charlie Mack, we did it from up here, and it's a whole different environment. I mean, you can see everything developing up here, but almost way back then, you barely see the numbers on the players' uniforms and that kind of thing. So, we're moved down, courtside. But again, this is the first time I've been up here since that time.
Really?
So it brings back a few memories.
Yeah, it does. But one of the worst ones for me, we were playing South Carolina. Fogler was coming back. This was the second or third time, and I had sprained my ankle the day before at the Green Hills Y, playing a very high level of basketball, and I'm on crutches. So I get here early enough where nobody sees this, and we did the post game down on the floor, and I'm hobbling down there, and everybody's looking like, what's going on? And Fogler walks out. He's going over to South Carolina's radio, and he shouts loud enough for everybody to hear, "Aren't you a little old for this?"
As only Eddie could do.
Oh, I loved it. I loved it. So, Vandy in South Carolina tonight. I don't know if it's do or die, but it feels like one they've got to have.
Yeah, I've talked to Billy the other day. I think, you got to protect your home court. And, the other night against Mississippi State, we competed really well. I really thought that it was, a solid game. We were within 5 with 4 minutes left. And I thought had a chance, except for, he got buries a 3-pointer on us with good defense on him. But, this is a game I think you're 1-2 in the league. You're playing South Carolina, who's at the bottom of the league. And, if you look at their stats, they're like 9 for 49 from the 3-point line. So they don't shoot the basketball particularly well from the perimeter. And this is a game, I think, where you got to use your depth and you got to hit 3-pointers. You got to get after them defensively. I like what Coach Byington's done. He's done a great job of, building out this roster in a short period of time, since he got the job. It's a fun team to watch. It's a great style of basketball to watch and as a player to play. And I just think it's one of those things where we just, we have to start hitting some shots, and we cannot get off to a slow start. We got off to a slow start against Mississippi State. We got off to a slow start against Mizzou, and that kind of put us in a hole. But at the same time, we worked our way back against Mizzou. We were down 1 with about 3-4 minutes left and turned the ball over 2 times in a row. But to your point, George, I think it's close to a must-win game because you want to be 2-2 going into that Tennessee game on Saturday.
So very, very quickly, Byington has gotten the fan base's respect. They see his work ethic. They see, that he put this thing together basically in 6 weeks. Tell us a couple of things about him and his coaching style that you've gotten to see because you're courtside oftentimes right next to him.
Well, what I like is he is 100% invested in college basketball. I say every morning he gets out of bed, both feet hit the floor, and his staff, both feet hits the floor, and they're thinking about college basketball, high school recruiting, NIL, transfer portal. They're doing that 100% of the time, and he's got a great staff around him. And I think what he's done is he's recruited kids that fit into his system, and he's not finished yet. I mean, this is, like you said, it took him 6 weeks to get this roster. And I think he's going to definitely make some improvements through the portal. But as a player, you look at the system you play in, and it's free, it's flowing, it's spread the floor, it's spacing the floor. And the other thing that you like as a player is, if you miss a shot or, you just take a bad shot, you're not going to hear the buzzer and you're going to get taken out. You play, and you play with confidence. And that's what I think I like more than anything is these kids are playing with confidence. And And I just think it's that system, and it's just only going to get better.
When you say that system, what is his system?
Well, it's like I said, what you want to do is you want to spread the floor, and you want to give players opportunities to create by themselves. And, we talked about guys coming off the bench, Jason Edwards coming off the bench. Coach Byington wants impact players. He wants you to come in. It doesn't make any difference whether you're a starter or whether you come off the bench. He wants guys to be impactful. And, you look at Jason Edwards, who's done that. You look at Tyler Tanner, who's done that. They come off the bench and they're impactful in a game. And I think that's what he does is he spaces the floor where you've got an opportunity for high ball screens, pick and pop. You can penetrate to the basket. You can shoot mid-range jumpers. You can penetrate, dish, and kick to the three-point line. And players love that kind of style, and that's exactly what he does.
I'm going to ask you one last thing and then turn it over to Kelly. You and I have watched this stuff for a half century, 50 years worth that you and I go back SEC-wise. I've never seen anything like this. This thing feels head and shoulders better than any level of SEC basketball we've ever seen.
I don't think there's any question, but you also look, I think back, remember in the 80s when Hugh Durham and Dale Brown, I mean, they had great coaches back then.
Forward league as well.
And now you look at the coaches in this league now, they got great coaches in the league. And I think that makes a difference. But, I've never seen top to bottom the league like this. I mean, I believe one of the stats that they jumped off that said that in the league or the league play in pre-conference, we were like 82-4 or something like that.
Yeah, it was crazy.
It was crazy. Yeah. And, the net ranking, you've got probably 6-7 teams in the top 10 of the net ranking. So, you look at a team like Arkansas, John Calipari's got all those big time players. They're 0-4. They get beat by LSU last night. I just think that, Missouri went into Gainesville last night and they win by 1. Auburn just, I thought Mississippi State, when they came in here, I thought this team could win the league. They go down to Auburn, they get drummed without Janai Broome even playing. So, to me, it's just it's murderer's row. It's a gauntlet that you just have to take it game by game by game. And there's going to be some games that, you're going to run into probably a buzzsaw, but there are going to be some games that, you're going to have the opportunity to win, even on the road too.
Tim Thompson is Vanderbilt's color analyst on radio. Kelly, what do you got for him?
Well, Kelly had to go to the bathroom, so I've got one for Tim.
Is that
okay? Yeah.
Okay. Was this an emergency?
Well, we'll explain that later. But
well, I'm sure we will.
Yeah, but Tim, this
probably
matchup,
not on air.
You mentioned how South Carolina doesn't shoot the ball well from 3. For Vanderbilt, is it as simple as you got to hit your shots tonight? Because we talked about Colin Murray-Boyles, how much of a load he is. It's never that simple. But you got to believe if Vanderbilt's able to hit some more shots, especially nickel, get him going, that they'll be in good shape tonight.
Well, and the thing about it is with Murray-Boyles, he's a guy that last February the 10th we played down there, he dropped 31 on us. He can't drop 31 tonight. That's just, you just can't let him go off. If you can control him, be in a situation where, you can make them be drivers off the perimeter as opposed to just sitting, let them shoot. And I think defensively, we're pretty solid defensively. We got after Missouri in that second half. And, they came away going, man, those guys can play some defense, but we've got to do that for 40 minutes. We can't do it for just one half. And, I think that's one of the things that I think is going to be viable tonight is how good our defense is. And then I think our offense will take care of itself. We can get some shots in transition. That's the other thing that we're good at is when we get the rebound, defensive rebound, control the defensive rebound, get it into transition where we don't have to set up in our half court offense. We can just play in that transition. We're a really good team.
Grant Huffman and Tyler Tanner, game time decisions tonight. If say they both can't go tonight, where does Vanderbilt go guard wise? And do you think they're at a disadvantage tonight?
Well, you probably move Jason Edwards into the starting lineup if, in fact, that's the case. You lose a little bit coming off the bench if Tyler Tanner is not able to go. But I think if you put Jason Edwards in Grant Huffman's spot, you're going to get some early offense that you don't usually get till about 4 or 5 minutes into the game. So, I don't know. I knowing Grant Huffman, how tough he is, and knowing Tyler Tanner, I would say that they're going to do everything they can do to play. But again, I think just Jason Edwards probably gets a lot more minutes.
It's interesting, being here right now, it's completely empty. And I told George it's weird being up here when it's completely empty, but 5 o'clock, it won't be.
It's a tribute to Tim. I mean, look at his fan. Well, actually, I don't see any.
But this Saturday should be a really good environment here. How important, every year it's important home court advantage, but in a season like this, Byington talked about it, where you only have so many chances to win games at home. On the road, it's going to be tough, no matter who you play on the road. How important is that, especially in a year like this where the SEC is just an absolute gauntlet?
Well, I think you got to protect your home court advantage. And, again, this is essential tonight. You got to just protect your home court advantage and, try to – and I think Tennessee is a beatable team. They're a team that, they went down to Florida, and I think they were 1 for 21 from the three-point line or whatever it was. If they don't shoot the ball great, I mean, they're a beatable team. And I think, it's one of those things where you got to take care of business tonight first and get to 2-2 and then concentrate on the Vols coming in here on Saturday.
I've asked everybody this. I heard Dane Bradshaw put it out earlier in December that a team that goes 7-11 in the SEC is going to have enough quad one opportunities that the committee is going to be forced to put a 7-11 in. Do you believe that?
Yes, I do. But when you say that, George, I think it has to be the right 7 games. Okay. I think in that 7 games, you got to get somebody like Tennessee. You got to get somebody like Kentucky. You got to get somebody like Auburn. You get 2 of those kind of teams in your 7 wins. Now, all of a sudden, your net rankings go high and you got a chance to get in at 7-11.
I'm told that Kelly has rejoined us. Kelly, what happened?
Pea break, boss.
Hey, Kelly, I'm well aware of those. I'm 68 years old, and I understand exactly what you're saying.
Okay, I'm going to give you 1 or 2 questions for Tim, and then we'll let him actually get to work.
I just wanted to know, Tim, did you know that George used to do the radio for Vanderbilt? Because he tells everybody every day. So I just wanted to make sure. Did you know that?
That this is the first time I've heard that.
Wow.
He drops that in on every broadcast. It's kind of getting annoying.
No, I don't. Now, Memphis State, that may be.
Memphis State. I know Memphis he did Memphis State.
Not for long.
No, he did Vandy too, and we get it. Yeah, we get it, George. We know you done Georgia Tech as well, so we get it. Let's let that rest, okay?
Do you have some questions for Tim?
Hey, Tim, did you think that the SEC was going to be as good as it is right now?
Kelly, that's a great question. I didn't early on. I didn't think it was going to be that good, but when in pre-conference, when I think the stat was like they went. I guess the league went like 85-4, something like that. And I'm sitting there thinking, I'm looking at all these teams in the league, and they're like 12-0, 13-0, 12-1, 12-1. I'm like, that's amazing. And again, it's a tribute to the coaches that are in this league, and just the way the transfer portal is. You can take a team that was not very good, Missouri, exactly, and 0-18 or whatever they were, and all of a sudden you transform, and they're, what are they, 3-1 now in the league? I mean, that to me is the big thing, is how valuable the portal is now in just overhauling your roster.
I talked last year about, my alma mater and football is kind of, everybody's gotten kind of apathetic. And I think the same thing happened at Vanderbilt with Jerry Stackhouse and the last regime. How much different do you feel now, or do the fans feel, or just Memorial Gymnasium feel now that Coach Byington's got in, and you're seeing results. Now it's going to take him time, but I said the other day, fans just want to see a team compete, and they know where you are. And if they see guys out there giving effort and really going through the process and understanding what's happening, how much different of a feeling is it now than last year?
Oh, it's like night and day. I've told people that, you've got, a new staff in, and really, if you look at the roster, I mean, there's only two players. There's JQ Roberts and Williams. Jordan Williams are the only two guys left over from last year's team. And, say what you want to. I mean, I thought Coach Stackhouse was a really good X and O coach, and, he improved those guys throughout the year, but he lost games like Presbyterian and, games that he shouldn't lose early on. And then it puts you in a situation where your net ranking so low, even though you improve late in the season, it's almost next to impossible to get in the NCAA. And, to me, I think that with Byington, and I told George, you may have been on break. But, I told George, I said, you've got a guy right now that every day he gets out of bed, both feet hit the floor, and he's thinking about college basketball. He's thinking about high school recruiting. He's thinking about NIL. He's thinking about transfer portal, and his staff does the same thing. And I think that's a big deal now in college basketball, is that you have to be thinking all the time about those three aspects of recruiting, NIL, and portal, or you're just going to get left behind.
Hey, thank you for coming up here and doing this. Not only do I appreciate it, I bet Mike Organ appreciates it.
Well, what do they call it? Sports talk radio? Pooled ignorance? Is that what CM said?
CM called it pooled ignorance.
Is that what?
Boy, the first time he said that, I went at him hot and heavy. Oh man!
Hey Kelly,
sir,
has George ever told you that he and CM Newton were good friends?
That's about it every other day occurrence.
That's every other day. Okay. All right. See you guys.
Tim, thank you. Bye. Okay. So now I'm going to get even with Kelly, who just disappears because of some sort of biological break that was needed. I have no idea what that's about. Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to take one little batch of phone calls. We have not done this before, but Mike's going to come up at 4:00 on the button. Until then, I got time for 2 or 3 phone calls, and I want one of them as a tribute to Kelly to be from the Murfreesboro area.
Tribute.
Yeah, let's see if Kelly's got any pull.
See if he can wrangle anybody.
Yeah. The phone number, 615-553-0933. Again, 615-553-0933. How else can they talk to us?
Chat room's open. You can go to YouTube and fire away your comment or question. Also, Facebook and Twitter. Just swipe up and type in your comment or question. We'd love to hear from you.
Okay, we're back to Memorial Gym in a moment. This is 94.9 The Fan.
You know, starting to save for your future doesn't have to be difficult. Let Wilson Bank and Trust help tone up your financial goals this year. Our certificates of deposits or CDs can help your money work harder with our competitive rates, earning you more than ever before. WBT checking options allow you to earn rewards you can really use, like a high interest rate or cash back on check card purchases when you meet some e-banking qualifications. Visit your closest Wilson Bank and Trust office or online at wilsonbank.com to get started today. Member FDIC.
This is my buddy Stan Harrison from Apple Collision Centers. Recently, you've been talking to me about companies that have a fleet of trucks and they're always in need of repairs.
That's right, George. We understand that nobody likes to deal with the auto body repair process. We try to simplify that at our 3 convenient locations. We work with all major insurance companies. We help to ease the stress of the auto body repair process. We're located in Old Hickory, Hendersonville, and Gallatin. If you need our services, please stop by and see us.
And how convenient that we have that in the background. Now, seriously, these are good folks. They do really good work. Give them a holler.
As we step into the new year, there's nothing more important than family and safety. If a car wreck or big truck accident turns your world upside down, Bart Durham Injury Law is here to help. We're local, We're experienced and we're ready to fight for what you deserve. Call us anytime at 615-242-9000. Really wishing you a safe and happy 2025 from Bart Durham Injury Law.
Over the years, more men have started to seek help for hormone deficiencies and imbalances, and Dr. Jeffrey Lodge and wife Daphne, along with their experienced staff, give men the treatment required to improve their quality of life, improve your immune system, energy level, cognitive function, and more. There's no better time to achieve a healthy lifestyle. What are you waiting for? Give Cool Springs MD a call today for an appointment at 615-486-3458 or visit the website coolspringsmd.com. Are you concerned about the Medicare Part D changes for 2025? Believe me, you're not alone. You need to contact Pancos Benefits. They'll make the changes clear and easy to understand. Trust Pancos to guide you through it all. Their knowledgeable team is here to help you understand the updates and make informed decisions about your Medicare coverage. Don't navigate these changes alone. Call Pancos Benefits today at 615-292-3400 and choose option 3, or visit pancosbenefits.com. That's 615-292-3400 and choose option 3.
FDIC equal housing lender.
Two total screw-ups of humongous proportions.
Sports. We're not living in an era where perfection is necessary.
They thought they were a championship contending team.
Here, we told you not to do this. Your sports live here.
On ESPN 94.9.
And the Game Nashville Sports Network. It's the George Plaster Show. Your sports live here on 94.9 The Fan.
I like the right time that I have asked for calls in the 3 o'clock hour. So I understand it's a little bit slow, and we'll, by the way, we got room for you right now. If you want 615-553-0933. I want to put this out here. This is a 5 p.m. start. It's part of a triple header on the SEC network that involves Tennessee, Georgia at 7 p.m., and then Oklahoma and Texas with all those little J.R. Ewing wannabes at 9 p.m. And to me, this is going too far. This is screwing over Vandy with a 5 o'clock start. People work until 5:30. That's why it's called drive time. And I'm sure the people at Oklahoma are not thrilled that their start time is 9 p.m. Now, you won't hear anybody say it, but to me, Kelly, this goes a little too far.
Yeah, that's normally you're starting at 7 o'clock, 6 o'clock, something like that. But you're right. That might hurt Vanderbilt, and I would not want to play late if I'm it's like football on a Monday night game. Everybody likes Monday night games, and that's great. But when you have to sit around in a hotel all day long and you're ready to go, and then you leave for the stadium like at 4 o'clock, it's just a long day, and that's what that makes. This is an early game for Vanderbilt, but Oklahoma and Texas, that game, sitting around all day waiting on it, that sucks as a player.
10 o'clock Eastern time.
I know a couple of times under Coach Newton, in situations like this, we flew in the day of the game.
Yeah.
Which is kind of an unheard of, but we did it a couple of times. One of them was a weather deal where we had been snowed out of a game in Oxford. Anyway, DJ in Nashville, welcome into 94.9 The Fan.
George, how are you?
DJ, is this the first time you've called this show?
It's been a while since I've called. But I
Hey.
love the show. It's great.
Thank you. I want you to tell 10,000 of your closest friends that we're out there, and that's how we'll grow it.
So I'm going to say one thing and then make you can laugh or talk about this, but Kelly and Billy need to know that some of us still think you are the best interviewer sports-wise I've ever heard. I want you to know that. And
Kelly, I want you to know that Billy, the DJ's not related to me.
Yeah. And second of all, you was incredible at the play-by-play. But since these guys were bugging you, I'm going to throw one out there and you can laugh or whatever.
Okay.
As a Vandy fan, the one that used to get to me most, whether it was anybody, was how many times in a 1 or 2 year period, how many times we had to hear about the Ron Mercer debacle. It's like that was one of those things that I don't care if you was talking about soccer, Ron Mercer's name would come up. And if you could go over a little bit of those memories. Thanks, George.
Yeah, thank you for the call. Kelly, do you remember any of that?
When he was talking about it, I'm trying to remember all that, and I know that was a big thing, and I can't even remember it now. It's been so long ago, but I do remember everybody talking about it, and I don't even remember what it was about now, George. I know you do because you were in this industry and you were talking about it, but I just I know something went on. I can't remember what.
It's the single most explosive issue that, however long I've done this, 32, 33 years in sports talk radio, it's the single most explosive issue that we ever dealt with. Ron Mercer was a young guy. I remember Rick Byrd saying that he could start for Belmont at the time as an 8th grader. He was,
really?
And we all knew, as he was coming along at Good Pasture, that this was a big deal. Well, I don't think that Ron Mercer, and I'm speaking out of turn here, and I've never really talked to Ron about it, but I don't think it was so much that he was dying to go to Vandy, but I think he was dying to come back home. He had been Oak Hill for his Oak Hill Academy for his senior year. And I can remember being over at Buzz Peterson's house. Buzz Peterson at the time was a Vandy assistant under Jan Van Bredikoff. And I remember saying to Buzz, I hear that he'd like to come here, but I'm hearing he might not get admitted. And that ultimately is what happened. He was not admitted. The school kind of screwed it up. I mean, this has all been 30 years ago. And he ends up going to Kentucky, where he had a fabulous career and had one of the most amazing dunks in this gym about 3 years later I've ever seen. Holy cow. About tore the place down. But what ended up happening, there were a series of deals that went on. And Greg Pogue, who was at the Nashville Banner at the time, broke the Ron Mercer story. And then about 10 days later, I put one out there that ultimately didn't look real good either, which was that a young guy named R.A. Dickey, who had grown up wanting to go to Vandy, big Vandy fan, also didn't get admitted. He ends up going to the University of Tennessee, where he was all academic Tennessee, later went on in 2011 to win the National League Cy Young Award. And so there were a series of problems back in the mid-90s. And the Mercer one was a killer.
I don't know why those guys didn't get into Vanderbilt, R.A. Dickey and Ron Mercer, but that tells you a lot about Vanderbilt, that Ron Mercer, a local guy, great player, didn't end up here. And again, don't know what all went into it, but R.A. Dickey as well, who grew up a Vanderbilt fan, didn't get to Vanderbilt.
Billy, the side story was that he was playing when he was at Good Pasture with Drew Maddox, who was a great player back when I was doing the games, and as well as Sam Howard, who ended up playing at Vandy. And so this became just an absolute explosive issue. When it got out, when Pogge put the story out there, I just remember up until then, I thought Tennessee losing to Alabama 9-6 when Johnny Majors was the coach was the most explosive issue I had dealt with. And then the Mercer thing came along, and it was pretty amazing.
Stormy on YouTube says, the show on YouTube is FM quality and static free. Please alert Kelly to this excellent option. Plus, Kevin Ingram is such the talent.
Kevin Ingram is one of the most talented people I have ever dealt with. Kelly, I've told the story. He was imitating me for a couple of years, and I kept hearing little bits and pieces that he would do this up in the Sounds press box when I wasn't around. And finally, I kind of confronted him. I called him a bad name, and I said, I want to hear it. And boy, he broke out in it. And, you know, I don't know how other people feel when they're being imitated. I thought it was hilarious.
You got to laugh at it.
He's really good.
He's really good at that, man. I got to know Kevin for those 4 years or 5 years we did the Thursday night light games, and man, I enjoyed doing the games with him. He's really prepared. He's really professional. I know he's with Vanderbilt now, but he's just he's such a good person. He's such a good guy, and he is talented. Just like Stormy said, he's a talented guy.
Jeffrey, we were talking about the tip-off times. He says, I agree. Don't like my Gators starting at 9 o'clock last night. And that's 9 o'clock Eastern.
9 o'clock Gainesville time.
I watched that game last night.
Yeah.
Started at 8. I don't think it ended until about 10:30, 10:40.
Which would be 11:40 their time.
And they slot these games for 2-hour time slots. They are never just 2 hours. So your game starts at 8. And say you're the fan of a team coming up on that channel, get ready to find a new channel because your game's not going to come on until 20 after, most times.
All of these leagues have sold out to TV money. It's just that simple. But then every once in a while, you'll hear somebody say, well, our crowd wasn't as good as we hoped it would be. Well, sometimes you can't have it both ways. If you're 18-2, you can probably play at 1 a.m. and it'll work out okay. But when you're struggling to win or just a normal team, 5 o'clock in the afternoon, there are a bunch of people simply driving home.
Basketball is tough, because parking can be different and is a lot of times different at these arenas too, where there's only a garage, that's an option, or it's just not ideal, especially for a 6 o'clock tip-off. Even that time is hard for fans to get here. And then you talk about 8 o'clock. Well, with the game ending around 10:20, 10:30 a lot of nights, you don't want to take your little kids here. So the sweet spot is 7 o'clock, but we're not seeing these 7 o'clock games.
No, I think what has to happen, the SEC network has got to get real about it and just understand they're going to show 2 games a night.
Yeah, Tuesday.
A 6 o'clock and an 8 o'clock. And
Monday through Thursday, or Tuesday through Thursday.
But, in this day where it's gotten very money grubby and everybody's out for the last dollar, this kind of thing is what happens.
Well, conference expansion too. You're start seeing a lot more of this.
Yeah, when the tournaments for these leagues take a week and a half to play, then you'll sort of question some things. Anything else we need to do?
Nope, that's it.
Okay, hour number 1 is almost in the books. After the break, we'll have Stat of the Day. Then Mike Organ from the Tennessean will join us at 4 o'clock. We'll reopen the phones right at 4:15. So if you want to go ahead and get in, we will open at 4:15, and I'll say that again early in the 4 o'clock hour. This is 94.9 The Fan.
Where can you see a saber-toothed tiger rappel from the rafters? How about a catfish fly? The biggest stars in Music City. Not to mention hockey's hottest ticket. The Predators win! Only in Smashville. See your Nashville Predators all season long at Bridgestone Arena. Single game tickets are on sale now at NashvillePredators.com. Let's go, Preds!
Hit After Hit has become the baseball store in Tennessee. They have over 1,000 different models of gloves and over 1,500 wood bats. They also have several Iron Mike pitching machines as well as a Hit Tracks machine. If they don't have it, you probably don't need it. We're proud to call Hit After Hit the official shirt provider of the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night.
Green Hills, Franklin, and Brentwood. Dustin and Joey believe that communication is the most important aspect of all construction projects. Therefore, they personally manage each project themselves and are involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonleyTimmons.com.
The International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Local 429, has a path to a dignified career. Are you a skilled electrician or lineman? Tired of dead-end, low-paying jobs? Local 429 is accepting applications for highly skilled electricians and linemen and is providing the best training in Middle Tennessee. They are the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Local 429. Call them at 615-889-4429 or go online to IBEW429.org. Here's to a big 2025 from everyone at the IBEW. It's gonna be a great year.
Get ready for the big game with a big screen TV from Electronic Express. With hundreds of TVs in stock, the guaranteed lowest prices, and screen sizes up to 115 inches, we've got your ultimate setup covered. Enjoy up to 24 months free financing, fast delivery, and expert installation to make sure everything is ready in time for kickoff. Make your place the destination for the big game. Visit any Electronic Express location or electronicexpress.com.
Evan, Canty, and Michelle are unsportsmanlike.
Trevor Lawrence has accomplished more in the NFL than Justin Herbert. Trevor Lawrence won his division. Trevor Lawrence won a playoff game. And we got questions about Trevor Lawrence now in terms of how good he is. If Trevor Lawrence is more accomplished, has proven more at the NFL level than Justin Herbert, why the hell are we not having those same conversations around Justin Herbert?
Evan, Canty, and Michelle are unsportsmanlike.
The Green Bay Packers simply couldn't beat the elite talent in the NFC. They were winless against the Detroit Lions, the Minnesota Vikings, and now the Eagles. Lost 2 games to both of those teams. They were good. They were not good enough. That, to me, is the story of the Green Bay Packers this season. So it was a good season, not a great one.
Unsportsmanlike. Weekday mornings starting at 6 Eastern on ESPN Radio and on ESPN2. Mike Greenberg.
The fact that they had no discussions about a new deal and that Jerry did not allow him to go talk to the Bears last week, in my opinion, is inexcusable. I mean, well beneath a person the stature of Jerry Jones. Yes, I understand it's business and you can take advantage of whatever things there are, but not in a way that is petty and unnecessary. So I hated that he did that.
You can't miss a moment with Greeny.
Mike Tomlin always says the standard is the standard. If the standard is getting into the back end of the playoffs and losing in round one, they do that as well as anybody ever. And there is a lot to be said for making the playoffs every year. Take it from a guy whose team hasn't made the playoffs in 14 seasons. But do you know what lasts forever? Nothing. Is it time for Mike Tomlin to be out of Pittsburgh?
Greeny, weekday mornings at 10 Eastern on ESPN Radio. Plus, you can watch and listen on the ESPN app.
Experience the thrill of gaming glory at Harrah's Metropolis Casino and Hotel, just a little over 2 hours northwest of Nashville off I-24. Call 1-800-HARRAHS and reserve your room today. Indulge in appetizing dining experiences along with the hottest slots and table gaming. As a Caesars Rewards destination, every moment you spend at Harrah's Metropolis earns you points across the entire Caesars empire. It's your time to win at Harrah's Metropolis. Must be 21 or older to gamble. Know when to stop before you start. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Your sports live here. WBUZ HD3 Laverne. All around the world on the Game Nashville app. We are the Game Nashville Sports Network. ESPN 94.9. The Fan.
It's the George Plaster Show. Your sports live here on 94.9 The Fan.
Talking with Mike Organ from the Tennessean coming up. But first, stat of the day brought to you by Apple Collision Centers. I do want to get to this piece of news. According to RaidersBeat.com, the Athletic's Diana Rossini reported on Wednesday that there are several teams that feel like the league is holding up coaching hires, and the Raiders are probably one of the teams on her list. And there is growing expectation that Ben Johnson will likely be the guy in Las Vegas. And one insider said, in quote, I think Hendon Hooker, is a real possibility to go with him. And I did not come up with that on my own. So keep an eye on Ben Johnson to the Raiders and Hendon Hooker to potentially go with him.
That would have to involve some level of trade compensation. Yeah. That's weird, but I'll say this. I think there are a lot of people, especially in this area, who want to find out, can Hendon Hooker excel at that level? Because he sure did at Tennessee.
And looked good in the it's the preseason. But whatever. Also, stat of the day, before we get to Mike Organ, brought to you by Apple Collision Centers. You can find them at Old Hickory, Hendersonville, and Gallatin. Give them a call, 615-754-9800, or log on to applecollisioncenters.com. All right, here we go. Indiana lost by 25 yesterday against Illinois at Assembly Hall.
That doesn't happen very often.
Which is the second worst home loss for Indiana. Which Big Ten team handed the Hoosiers their worst loss?
Oh, gosh. Kelly, just right off the bat, wouldn't Michigan State be the...
That's the first thing that popped in my head, George. Michigan State, but that's too easy. I don't think it would probably be Michigan State. It's probably like Northwestern or somebody.
Oh, wow. I know this in the old days when something like that would happen. I can remember Bobby Knight telling some of his team, you figure out how to get to our next game. Yeah, I remember he left a series of players on a road trip at the airport and basically said, you figure out how to get home.
They don't make them like Bobby Knight.
No.
He was wild, man.
What's the answer?
Wisconsin.
Wow.
Wisconsin.
How many did they beat them by? Do we know?
32.
Wow. Okay, are we now officially into the abbreviated 4 o'clock hour? We are at Memorial Gym, where Vandy and South Carolina play in about an hour. The hardest working man in Nashville sports is Mike Organ from the Tennessean, and he joins us by phone. Mike, how are you?
I am good, George, and I am glad that I am where I am and not with you, because I've had enough of that crow's nest press box for a lifetime. So good luck to you. I hated that place. It was, I always wondered who in the world came up with that idea to put us up there. I counted the stairs at one point. I think it's over 300. And, it was miserable climbing up there, covering a game climbing down, doing the post-game interviews, and then climbing back up there to write my story.
I can see why you felt that way. I had a sprained ankle one time. It was when I was doing Vandy's games, and I got in here early enough that nobody saw me, but it was a real struggle getting up and then getting down in time to do the post game with Jan. That didn't go great on my end. A lot of hobbling.
I had a suitcase full of equipment, walking it up the stairs on the way up here.
Mike,
we don't need to hear. Tell him we don't need to hear about that, Billy.
Yeah, thanks, Kelly.
Mike, what's the craziest thing you've ever seen in this great old building?
Ooh, let me think about it. Wow. Some of those Eddie Fogler post-game interviews with Larry Woody were entertaining. I can't say they were crazy to watch. Trying to think of some of the wins over Kentucky.
Let's do it this way. I'll come back to that question. You think about it. We'll come back to it here in a couple of minutes. So you wrote something that is very interesting to me about the relationship between Marcus Freeman, Notre Dame's wildly successful coach, and Eddie George at Tennessee State. Talk about what you found out in that.
Well, I remember back in 2022 when Eddie first arrived, that was huge news. And then it didn't take long before they came back with more big news. It was 2-3 months later that they said that Tennessee State's going to play Notre Dame. Notre Dame had never played an HBCU, and it was a historic move. So we started putting the pieces together, and I thought, how did this come about? And part of it was that there was a relationship between Eddie George and Marcus Freeman. They both were Ohio State players. Not at the same time. Marcus is considerably younger. So that kind of got it going. And then Eddie went up a little early for the press conference to make it official and ended up spending more time than he expected with Marcus, and they really hit it off. And that was in 22. They ended up playing the first game of 23, season opener, and Tennessee State actually hung with them through the first quarter, led late in the first quarter, ended up getting blown out at the end of the game. But from that point on, Marcus Freeman built Notre Dame into what it is today, a school record 14 wins going to the national championship. Eddie George turned Tennessee State into a 6-game winner in the following season, which was a first winning season in 7 years, and then repeated this year with back-to-back winning seasons for only the 4th time in 37 years, and took them to the playoffs for the first time in 11 years. So I started thinking about it, and I thought, these two guys formed this relationship, and they both kind of paralleled, their careers kind of paralleled from that point on, and they both have experienced success. So I called Eddie a week ago or so. He was on his way back with Taj from Florida. They've been on vacation, and I left a message, and he called me right back. And he Eddie's good. He'll usually call within 15 minutes or 30 minutes, but he called me back with a matter of minutes. He was eager to talk about this because he's so happy about the relationship he's formed with Marcus and so proud of what Marcus has done. That they've become friends. He told me, he said, we were not people that talk very, every day or anything like that before. We knew each other. He goes, but we've shared ideas. We've leaned on each other. Our philosophies are very similar. He's very humble. Eddie likes that about him. Eddie's very humble, actually, considered all the success he's had in the many fields other than, football, along with everything else he's done. And I don't know, I just thought it was an interesting parallel between the two and where the two ended up at the end of this season. Eddie in the FCS playoffs and Marcus still playing. Here we are going to be January 20th, and he still has a game.
And yet, Eddie's not rooting for him Monday night, is he?
Well, that was another part of it. After all of that I just rambled on about, the bottom line is they both is that Notre Dame plays Ohio State on Monday, and I didn't include this in the story because the story got a little bit too long. But I said, "Are you conflicted that your buddy is playing Ohio State?" And he said, "No, I'm not conflicted. I want my Buckeyes to win the game." He said, "But I will say that if Marcus happens to win, I won't be unhappy." So it's kind of a win-win situation Monday night for Eddie.
Kelly, because we've got limited time, say hello to Mike Organ.
Mike, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good, Kelly. How are you?
I'm good. Hey, I asked Derek Mason the other day when we had him on. We had him on after you, but I'm going to ask you the same question about the Titans. If you're a GM and you're coming in, you're talking to Amy Adams Strunk. What are you wanting to know if you're the possible hire for the next general manager of the Titans?
How much power do I have or do I not have? Most importantly, am I just an assistant to Chad Brinker? Because that's certainly the perception. Now, there's two different schools. You've got, it depends on who they hire. If they hire somebody who's up and coming, then they're going to be willing to do that. They have that title and get the experience, then they'll do that. If they try to get somebody who's established, has been a part of an integral part of building a program, then that's going to be a problem for Amy and for Chad Brinker, is because the perception is that they're just hiring somebody to kind of, go pick up people at the airport or run out and get lunch for Chad and Burke Nihill. And maybe, not what you consider a general manager, a guy that's going to have say-so over the final 53, over the draft, over everything else football-wise, because that sounds like that's what Chad Brinker's doing. So, even before I take the job, I got to know, what does this job entail? Because it doesn't sound like a typical NFL GM position.
Yeah, and Troy Aikman talked about he didn't know if the Dallas Cowboys job was the most coveted job in the world anymore, but you can see that with the Titans general manager deal because he didn't get to pick this new coach. So I wouldn't think that the general manager of the Tennessee Titans right now would be a coveted job in the league.
No, not at all. Like I said, if you're young, you're inexperienced, and you're trying to build your resume, you take it. You take it and you use it to learn. You kind of sit back and learn from Chad Brinker and Burke and just see how it goes. But if you're established at all, if you've got any kind of option, if you're in a good position right now where you are, then yeah, I think you're hesitant. You look at what's happened, all the turnover that this team has experienced in the last 4 or 5 years. This team that used to be really solid, used to send assistant coaches to other franchises to be head coaches. Greg Williams, so many, back in the day when Fisher was there and even beyond that. But that doesn't happen anymore. And like I said, if you're nobody's safe there. Anybody, every year they're looking for a scapegoat, and that's something you got to ask. Is you ask yourself, they're not going to tell you, yeah, you're going to be our scapegoat if things don't work out next year or the year after. But you have to ask yourself, am I just the next Fran Carthon, or am I just the next Mike Vrabel? Am I the next one that they point to because things don't get fixed?
So Mike, it's my last question. Yesterday, George brought this up, and I thought this was a really good question. But we saw Sam Darnold, and he led those guys to a 14-3 record. But the last 2 games that he's had have not been great, and it's not been all his fault. Some of it has been his fault, but the other night, I just think the Detroit Lions and the Washington Commanders, or not the Washington Commanders, but the whoever he played the other night, I forgot. But they were just
Rams.
The Rams, they were just better. Yeah, they were just better than they were. But he didn't play great the last 2 games, and I don't know if he's going to covet the money that he wanted. But George asked, Will Levis or Sam Darnold. If you're the Tennessee Titans, would you go after Sam Darnold or would you stay with Will Levis?
You know, Kelly, I've already thought about that. I watched, especially this last game, and the incredible pressure he was under. I mean, he looked like he was playing for the Titans already. And I thought that the way this thing unfolded with what you laid out there, having a good season and then the last two games, I think it kind of played into the Titans' hand. You know, now he's not going to be quite as expensive, and he's also not going to be coveted by as many other teams that are looking for a bridge quarterback or somebody that can come in and play next year for another couple of years. So I think it worked out in the Titans' favor. I think, you know, he might have been a tough get 3 weeks ago, but I think what happened here at the end might have helped him. I don't mean to say he played down to the Titans, but I kind of think that that's what I'm saying is that he became somebody that could, you know, that they realistically could get. And especially, obviously, if they don't draft a quarterback, and I just don't see a quarterback they could draft that would come in and help immediately. So, yeah, I think what's happened is a positive for the Titans, and that this might be the place for him. He would be more affordable and less in demand.
Before we finish with Mike, I got one last question for him. The minute the interview's over, if there are phone calls waiting, I'll go for them. In other words, if you want to get in really quick, hit the phones now, right now, at 615-553-0933. Again, 615-553-0933. Mike, are you disappointed that Pat Sperduto's name has not come up?
I'm a little surprised and definitely disappointed. You know, bring him in and talk to him. Come on, you know, I mean, you're not bringing in, you know, heavy hitters. These people are not above or beyond Pat Sperduto by any stretch. Here's a guy that's been with your organization before, has been in this area forever, and he's the only, you know, natural choice out there. You don't have anybody that, you know, that you sent off and they did well somewhere else and now they could come home. You know, bring Pat in and talk to him. I'm disappointed. I would have thought, you know, I saw his name on some early lists that are made up by media or others. And I thought that he was a natural, and I don't understand why you don't just bring him in. And he knows your organization. He can help you. Even, you know, if it doesn't work out, he can tell you what you need. He can tell you what he saw, what he has seen work for this franchise over the years, and maybe just as importantly, what hasn't worked. You know, he's seen it up close because he stayed in this area, even though he's worked for another team, the Chiefs. He's got just tons of experience, and yeah, I don't get it. You're bringing in guys that, you know, none of us, half of us don't know who they are, and they're just not natural, you know, guys. So I would think you'd have some time for a Pat Sperduto.
Mike, as always, thanks for the visit. I'm glad we could work it out. We'll do it again next Wednesday.
Thanks so much for being flexible, guys.
Mike Organ, hardest working man in Nashville sports from the Tennessean. Let's go straight to the phones. Tony in Nolensville, get us started.
Hello, George. Hello, guys. George, looking at the gym, I have not been in the gym since 2019. After Stackhouse the whole bit and COVID, I have not had tickets since then. Have they shortened the side of where the student section was?
When you say shortened it, what do you mean exactly?
It looks like it doesn't go as deep as it once did.
No,
number of rows.
No, I think it's still the same, Tony. I haven't noticed any change.
Maybe that's just perception. It's looking like on my TV, but it looked like it was really that they had eliminated several rows. But
Well,
maybe
where,
that's just what I was looking at or not seeing it. So
where we're at in the crow's nest, the banners block a good part of the student section. That's probably what's knocking you out.
okay, well maybe that's what it was. So I just was looking at it. But I'm glad y'all are there today, and Byington keeps going the route he's going. I'll be buying season tickets again for basketball. They deserve my respect to come back now. I respect what they're doing. Kelly, I've got a question for you, and then I'll be short on this. You hear all this stuff about the RPO and the zone read, which I didn't know this. I heard it in the bowl during bowl season that Rich Rodriguez was the father of the RPO and zone read, that he put it in place. I don't know if y'all knew that while at West Virginia.
Yeah.
Were y'all aware of that?
I was not aware that he was the one that started it, but it was about that time that it all started. He's pretty smart with what he does.
He said it was Rich Rodriguez, and the way it come about was his quarterback. They were running a dive play, and he saw the defensive end. This was in practice. The end crashing. He pulled the ball out and went around in, and Rodriguez asked him, "Why did you do that? You're supposed to be running this play." He said, "I saw the defensive end crashing." He said, and I thought, I was going to keep and go around. And that's how the RPO zone read was implemented and put in at West Virginia. And he has brought it at each place he's been. Now that's the story they told. They being the announcers of the game. Kelly, I asked you, your son's a quarterback at Murray. On a zone read, and you've been coaching it, how difficult is it for that quarterback to be reading the end and seeing whether a corner's dropping or crashing, coming in hard also, and to be able to pull that out? Because when you stick that ball in that running back's gut, and he's supposed to be holding on to it pretty firmly.
Absolutely. You got to have two hands on it, Tony.
Yeah, for some reason, we're not getting Kelly right now. I have no idea why.
Tony,
I can hear
me?
Kelly.
Yeah,
you can't?
Tony,
I can hear you, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, wow.
So, that is a hard deal, but that's what all of college football is going to. But yes, you got to put two hands on it, and you got to. If the guy that you're reading, you're not going to block him. Obviously, it's just like an option play is what it is from the gun. And I didn't run all that stuff. I hated having to run that stuff when I was at middle because Coach Robbins used to always talk about we needed to keep it in, but. It all depends on that defender. If the defender sells out for the run and if he turns his shoulder pads directly down the line of scrimmage, then he cannot cover the quarterback. So that's when you rip the ball out. Yeah, you rip the ball out and you take on the run. But I'm not a huge fan of that stuff. But it's, that's what college football, that's what high school football is going to. And now the Lamar Jacksons of the world are doing it in the NFL as well.
The running back and the quarterback, Kelly, is it more of a feel between those two?
Well, it just takes a lot of work, Tony. It really does. It takes a lot of reps in practice, and you got to see the coaches got to design drills where you see a lot of different looks. And it is tough, but you have to practice.
I really
it's just one of those things.
About it because I knew you had been around it quite a bit. And because it is an amazing offense, and when it works, it's really a thing of beauty. But you can also see a lot of, like you say, Kelly, a lot of times I see that ball being put on the ground a lot too. So, George,
absolutely
great show. I'm gonna let you go, and y'all have fun tonight, guys. Anchor down. Let's go get this win. See ya.
94.9 The Fan.
Listen on the air.
So don't tell me to chill out.
On the web at thegamenashville.com. This team has strategically put themselves back in the mix. Watch us on YouTube or download the Game Nashville app. You have to make those plays. Your sports live here on the Game Nashville Sports Network.
New year, new priorities. Family and safety come first. If a car or truck accident disrupts your life, Bart Durham Injury Law is here to help. We're local, experienced, and ready to fight for you. Call 615-242-9000. Happy 2025 from Bart Durham Injury Law.
If you're looking for fun for the family, look no further than Strike and Spare Family Fun Centers. The bowling is a blast. The people around it make it even better. And you know what? They've got a staff that will make sure you have a good time. So don't wait. Go have some bowling fun at Strike and Spare, the official home of the 4th annual Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night. Here's Officer Garen Hoskins for the Metro Nashville Police Department.
The Metro Nashville Police Department is on the forefront of policing in this century, and I'm glad I'm a part of it. I'm glad I get to find other good officers, other future good officers. And if you're watching today, or you yourself or someone you happen to know is interested, join mnpd.com. Feel free to reach out to us because we need good officers, and it's a great city to work for.
Are you concerned about the Medicare Part D changes for 2025? Believe me, you're not alone. You need to contact Pancos Benefits. They'll make the changes clear and easy to understand.